Such stories happen, unfortunately, all over the place. When Christina told her lover that they were going to have a child, he was overjoyed at first. He did not jump to the ceiling, did not shout with happiness, but only smiled discreetly. "Hooray! I'll have a son now." "Why a son?" Christia pretended to pout her lips. "I want a daughter." "A girl. It's also good." The boy didn't object. "Of course it's good. You know what they say. When a man has a son, he becomes a father, and when a daughter, daddy." "Well, that means I'll be a daddy if anything." Soon the ultrasound confirmed what Christina knew herself. She was having a daughter. Vitya also rejoiced, but somehow uncertainly. And when the girl began to slowly start talking about the wedding, all sorts of evaded a direct answer. And when she finally decided and asked him directly, gave her a whole lecture about the fact that modern civilized people in Europe have long ceased to make a fetish of all these wedding attributes, years to check their love, living without all the hype and registration, church weddings, lavish banquets and other things, she tried to object. What about Heidi Klum and Tom Kaulitz? Or Justin Bieber and Hailey Baldwin? Or... "Well, honey, I'm sorry," Vitya interrupted her. "We to your Heidi. As it is, Klum, as far as the moon, they are celebrities. They have a completely different life. Let's not float in the sky. We love each other, and that's enough, I think. Let's meet my parents if you want, but you don't have to tell them about the pregnancy. It's not the right time." "Why not in time?" The girl was surprised. "You see, they are old school people. Supporters, as they say. Premarital purity. They seriously believe that the most that we allow ourselves is a friendly kiss. So the news that you are pregnant will come as a shock to them." "And how do we tell them later?" Christia asked quietly. "We'll see," Vitya brushed aside. "We'll solve problems as they come." The meeting with Vitya's parents made a double impression on Christina. On the one hand, she liked them. Very intelligent, refined. They politely inquired where Christine studied, who her parents were, where she lived. They told stories from the life of local bohemians. Everything was very cozy, homely. But on the other hand, the girl saw very clearly the huge difference in their situation. And it was not even a matter of financial wealth. Although Vitya's parents did not pull on the oligarchs, but undoubtedly were much better off than Christie herself, and her parents, simple workers from a small town where she left to study. The girl could not get Vitya to understand what his parents thought about her. At the meeting, no questions about the plans of the young people were asked. She was spoken to simply as a friend of her son, one of many, and the guy kept silent, avoiding even her direct questions. In the end, Christina decided to clear up the situation unambiguously. She wrote Vita the usual message, asked when they could meet. There was no reply. Vitya was absent from her profile. She wrote again, to other messengers, the same result. I made a normal call, but the caller is out of range. I wondered if something had happened. Overcoming some doubts, he went to his parents' house. Rang the doorbell, no answer. Rang the doorbell again, same thing. What to do? The lock on the neighbor's door clicked, and an elderly woman looked out. "Are you here to see the Potapovs?" "To Vitya's, I suppose." She sighed. Yes. I'm here to see Vitya. He's not answering, I'm worried." "Do you know if they're all right?" They're fine, girl. Don't worry about them." "But you're not in order, I see." "Come in. Why stand on the doorstep?" "So Vitya left?" "He left, of course. He left with his parents." "Where to?" "Somewhere where people like us can't get to. It's the Canaries, the Bahamas, something else. Vitin's father is a serious professor, or even an academician in tropical flora. He's always going on expeditions." "Ah. How can I find him now?" Christina was confused. "Why do you need to find him, honey?" "Why would I?" "I love him, and he loves me." "Why did he leave without telling me?" "We were getting married. He introduced me to his parents." Baby. He doesn't love you, and he never did." "Yes, he does. He... What month are you?" "4th, automatically answered Christine, and then she realized. "How do you know?" There's nothing to know, girl. He played around, and then he dropped it. Maybe he had an idea to marry, even brought to his parents to show. A father is like a father. He's all about his science. And your mum figured you out right away. You're simple, not a third-generation intellectual, a kolkhoz, like me. She doesn't need such a daughter-in-law. But she understood me so well, we talked, joked. Of course, they're cultured people. They won't call me names or use a broom. And then she wagged her finger at my son. This is not our circle, son. Don't even think about it. And he was like, yes, Mammy, it's just for fun. I don't really need her. But he tortured you, used you before he left, and now he'll be gone for 4 months. My father's expeditions are long. So, girl, forget your Vitya. He's no match for you. Excuse me, could you let me know when he's coming? I'll leave you the phone number. No, honey, I'm sorry, I can't. I don't have that authority. The professor left me a key to her flat, told me to keep an eye on it, and there was no talk of visitors. She pays me a bit of money, brings me presents. I don't want to lose it. She won't like it that I've brought you back. Christine returned home in tears, and there she was also in for an unpleasant surprise. The landlady, Inga Matveyevna. Where's Victor? I can't get him on the phone. Are you going to pay the rent? We agreed you'd pay at the beginning of the month, but it's already the 5th. If you don't pay, you'll go to the street and I'll find other tenants. Vitya's gone, Christina whispered. So now you're going to pay? No, I don't know. I don't have that kind of money. Then get ready to leave. This month is paid, so you can live on your own. But on the first day of the month you have to vacate the flat. I'll show it to other people and you look for a place to live. She thought for a while and added, I understand everything. I feel sorry for you. But I live on this money. It's my livelihood. Christina rushed to the hostel, where she had lived before Vitya rented the flat, which she was to vacate soon. What are you doing, girl? The commandant even waved her hands. They've already moved into your place long ago. We're in high demand. We don't have enough places. What did you think when you left? Now you have to wait until the next season, when there will be vacancies. And where can I go now? Cried the girl. Rent a flat or a corner. Then the commandant saw her rounded belly under the open cloak and shook her head sadly. Oh, that's it. Come with me. She led her into a small room with a tiny window under the ceiling and showed her a small sofa in the corner. Here, live here until you find something suitable. But I warn you at once, with a child at us is not allowed. The bosses will find you and kick you out, and I'll be pampered to the fullest. Best of all, go back to your mother. What now? Thank you, Christina murmured. I couldn't tell the kind woman that she had been literally pushed out to the big city in her time. 3 generations in one tiny flat. In due time, Christina gave birth to her daughter Sveta, a healthy little girl with huge blue eyes. She thanked the doctors and nurses dryly and wrote a cancellation of the baby. She listened to all the arguments, ahs and sighs, signed the necessary papers, and left, suppressing her sobs. I'm sorry, my daughter, but I won't be able to lift you up. You'll be better off there. I don't even have a place to live right now, and then I'll graduate, get a good job, and take you back. She told the commandant in a detached manner that the child had been born dead, and asked her to let her stay a little longer in this room, and above all, not to ask her anything. The kind woman groaned, sympathized, and soon put Christina in the vacated room. Now the girl plunged headlong into her studies and graduated with honors. On a personal life put across, none of the guys did not meet. She was taken to a good job, was given an office flat. She was doing well at work, maybe because she had no other interests. Her bosses appreciated her, and at some point, when Christina realized that she was firmly on her feet, she decided to fulfill her promise and take her daughter out of the orphanage. However, she was disappointed. As it turned out, the girl was not in the orphanage. She was adopted, taken straight from the maternity hospital. By whom? Who adopted her? Give me their coordinates, Christina screamed. Firstly, we don't know that. All adoptions are anonymous. And secondly, even if we knew, you were not told. It's a legal requirement. And thirdly, what are you going to do? try to take the girl away from her new parents, who raised her, became her own. I am her birth mother. Christina couldn't hold back any longer. You should have thought of that before. You lost all rights to your daughter when you signed the waiver. You can sue us, it's up to you. In the meantime, goodbye. You won't get anything more from us. The young woman ran to a lawyer, but there she was told at once that the case was hopeless. The addresses of the adoptive parents were kept secret, and a very good reason was needed to break this secret, and only if the state interests were affected. Christine was already a good enough person to realize that they would just pull money from her, but nothing would be solved. In the end, she decided to hire a private detective to find out where her daughter was. Now her earnings allowed it. How she would act then, the girl has not yet thought. The main thing: to find. Meanwhile, at work, the reshuffles and transformations began. Departments were disbanded, merged, shuffled. In the end, she found herself in a position with a small promotion together with 3 employees from her acquaintances and 1 new specialist, Andrei Maximovich, a competent, intelligent, purposeful worker, in the style of work very close to Christina. They almost immediately found a common language in working moments, spent a lot of time discussing, arguing, planning new projects. They had many points of contact, similar views on life and family. Andrei was divorced. He had thrown his wife out after catching her in an affair, and he had no children. Christina said that she had a difficult love story which she does not want to remember, and she did not avoid the question of having children. She honestly told that she has a daughter with whom they are separated, and she wants to find her. Andrew took the situation with understanding, and soon their working relationship grew into friendship, and then into love. 6 months later they had a modest wedding and began to live together. "Andriusha, I'm pregnant." Christina decided to please her husband in the evening after dinner. He was really happy but asked, "Are you sure about it?" "Yes, now I'm sure. I did not tell you right away. I was afraid to jinx it. I checked the test 3 times. I went to the doctor, I did an ultrasound. Everything is accurate." "I guessed." My husband smiled. "But I didn't jerk you off before the time. Now everything will be fine." As expected, they had a baby girl, who was named Arisha. But the young parents were not happy for long. The girl was born weak, crying all the time. She was always in pain. At the same time, none of the doctors did not say anything concrete, only waved their hands in rash-wise terms. Once, after a particularly severe attack, Christina cried on her husband's shoulder and said, "This is my punishment for everything I've done, for abandoning my daughter. Andrei, I must find her. And I will." "That's right, my love, but not you. But we'll find her." "Thank you, darling. I never doubted you. I wanted to hire a detective, but I got so busy, I put it off. I should have put the rest of my business on hold, but find Sveta. It's not too late. I'll make an appointment with a good detective tomorrow. I've got one in mind." The next evening he brought Christine to the detective agency and introduced her to a young agent, Nikolai, who promised to help, but did not guarantee that he could do it quickly. She told him all the details of those events, gave him all the data she knew, names, facts, details. Nikolai recorded everything thoroughly and said he would start work tomorrow. Andrei and his wife were torn between work and the hospital. Although Christia was officially on maternity leave, she helped her husband in his work, so as not to let down the management and not to slow down the pace. On top of everything else, they were now eagerly awaiting news from Nikolai. So far, he had only managed to establish that Svetoshka was adopted by quite rich people, some oligarchs, or close to the authorities, so they tried most carefully to cover, so to speak, all traces. Of course, somewhere information about it settled down, but it is very difficult to find it. Still, a fortnight later he called and asked to meet. Of course, the couple put aside all their affairs and rushed to the meeting. "I have different news. There are both good and not so good, so please listen to everything I tell you, and then ask questions," began Nicholas. Sveta adopted by the couple Mikhailovs, a common surname, so it was difficult to search. The husband, Sergei Petrovich, at that time was just beginning his political career. His wife could not have children, so they decided to take a refuse from the maternity hospital and all the documents to formalize as if it were her child. Money and connections helped to solve the issue, and Sveta became Mikhailova. They did not change her name. Things were going well for them. Svetlana was already 10 years old. She was a favorite daughter, did not know anything to refuse, had any toys and fun, but she lacked parental attention. Dad, a deputy, Mum, a businesswoman. Once they were traveling by car to a neighboring town. Sveta was in the back seat, and it saved her. Yes, they had an accident. The parents died on the spot, and the girl, although she didn't get a scratch, was left disabled. Her consciousness went into overdrive, and she remained a 10-year-old little girl forever. I do not know whether the accident was accidental, or someone of the parents, as they say, ordered. But the will was drawn up very competently, and all the property and savings went to the daughter, under the care of the grandmother, Sergei's mother. She very skillfully converted the whole business into money, and paid for Svetlana's lifetime maintenance in a very expensive clinic. I called there. We can meet with the management of the hospital, and if the doctors allow it, with Svetlana. Thank you, Nikolai. Andrei got up, shook the detective's hand. We leave tomorrow. Christina could not say anything. She was choked with tears. She had given full authority to her husband. Nikolai had made prior arrangements with the clinic management, so they met with the head doctor as soon as they arrived. He didn't beat around the bush either, and got straight to the point. So you claim that you are the mother of Svetlana Mikhailova? Yes, Christina answered firmly. At one time I did a mean thing, and gave her up. But then I realized my mistake, and made an attempt to find my daughter. But I could not get anything. Everyone was silent, and only now I have found her. How can I see my daughter? I'm sorry, but there are 2 things I need to find out. 1. Get a DNA test to make sure you're the girl's mother. We can do that within 24 hours if we ask. Do you agree? Yes. Christina didn't hesitate for a second. Good, good. Now the second thing. For what purpose do you want to see Svetlana? What do you mean, for what purpose? Christina was surprised. She is my daughter. I want to be with her. To take her home. As far as I know, she doesn't need special treatment, but only general care and supervision. My husband and I will provide that. But in any case, she needs constant supervision by a psychologist because, whatever you say, she is not quite normal, and such supervision is simply necessary. Honored Professor. Andrei stood up. Thank you very much for taking care of our daughter. You have done a lot for her. But now we really want to take her back to us. We will fulfill all the doctor's orders, hire a good nurse, do everything that is necessary. Please don't refuse us. We are well-to-do people, and we will not pretend to dispose of Svetlana's money. Well, it's a legal matter. As the law dictates, that's what we'll do. So when can we see Sveta? When the test results come back. If your maternity is confirmed, we'll have to sign some papers, solve issues with the attending doctor. He'll prepare the girl, set up a time to meet. Soon the results of the DNA test came back, which confirmed Christina's maternity. The attending doctor met with her and Andrei, and they settled all the formalities. I want to warn you at once. The doctor addressed them dryly. Physically, Svetlana is healthy and developed according to her age. She is 15. But her mental development has stopped. She suffered a terrible stress. Now the girl doesn't remember anything from the moment she was pulled out of the wrecked car unconscious. She used to keep asking where her mom and dad are, but now she has stopped. She just waits for them to come back. Therefore I ask you very much, and even demand, do not give her false hope. It would be better to keep neutral with her for the time being. Sveta lived in a separate room, which could not be called a hospital ward. Cheerful wallpaper, a soft sofa, a desk with an office chair on wheels, an open laptop on it. She looked up and Christine almost shrieked. The same huge blue eyes she had seen in the maternity ward when she had left her daughter there. Now she was looking at a pretty young girl who looked like a teenager, but had a childlike, naive look in her eyes. Before Christine could say anything, Sveta rushed to her, screaming, "Mummy! Mummy's here!" "Daughter, Svetlana, I'm sorry, darling. Daddy and I came to get you." "Mummy, mummy, mummy," cried the girl child, embracing the most dear person she had found, immediately recognizing her, feeling her, forgiving all her former sins, simply dissolving them in her love. They stood like that in the middle of the room, embraced and crying, mumbling incoherent affectionate words, kissing each other. "Come, doctor." Andrei touched the doctor's elbow, who had tears in his eyes. "We have nothing to do here." By evening both girls calmed down a little but did not want to part. Sveta met Andrei, was very pleased with him, but the feeling was more rational than emotional. They begged the doctor to allow Christina not to be separated from her daughter while the paperwork was being processed, and they even persuaded him to put a second bed in the room for her. They whispered about something all the time, sometimes laughing, sometimes crying. Andrei left alone. He had to work and look after little Arisha. Fortunately, she didn't have any deterioration during the time of his parents' departure. Her condition stabilized a little. He worked, catching up with the missed time, and did not let the company's income from his activities or his own income fall. "Svetunchika, do you know you have a sibling?" Christina asked the next day. "Oh, Mum, really? What's her name? And how old is she?" The girl pelted her with questions. "She is still very young. She is 2.5 years old, and her name is Arisha. But she is sick all the time." Christy had tears in her eyes when she remembered her youngest daughter. "Nothing, Mummy. We'll come home. I'll take care of Arishka and she'll get better soon. You'll see." "Yes, my good. Soon we will come home, and we will live together. Daddy, me, you, and little Arishka." And so it happened. 2 months later we settled all the formalities and adopted Svetlana. They decided not to change her surname and patronymic in memory of the people who were Svetlanka's relatives for 10 years, raised her. When she recovers, gets married, then let her change it herself, if she wants to. The meeting of the sisters was very tender and touching. Before that, they had communicated via video link, even tried to talk, but of course face-to-face contact is quite different. The girls rushed to each other. The older one picked up the little girl in her arms, twirled her round, kissed her. They said something at the same time, stroked each other's cheeks, laughed. 2 years have passed since then. The sisters have remained the closest and dearest. They spend a lot of time together, and doctors began to notice that the family reunion had a magical effect on them. Arisha stopped being sick. All bad things left her. She became a usual cheerful girl, sick mostly only with colds. And the most amazing thing is that Sveta also began to catch up with her age in terms of development. And doctors say that in a year or two she will become a normal 19-year-old girl, and the observation of her can be removed.